I told you I needed closure, right? He set the mug down hard enough to make me flinch. You want to know what I think? I think you're like all women who claim they want a good guy but can't resist running back to toxic ones. The drama, the intensity, you feed off it. Nice guys like me? We're just too boring, aren't we?
Guys, Carl here. You know those relationships where everything just clicks? That was Lisa and me for 2 amazing years. Well, until recently. But let me start from the beginning. Hey, you've got flour on your nose, Lisa would laugh, reaching across our kitchen counter to wipe it off. We'd spend Sunday mornings baking together. Her idea, actually. Who knew I'd end up enjoying it so much? That's the thing about Lisa. She brought out sides of me I didn't even know existed. We met through mutual friends at a birthday party. Classic, right? But what followed was anything but ordinary. Within months, we were finishing each other's sentences and sharing everything. And I mean everything, phone passwords, location sharing, the works. Not because we had to, but because it felt natural. Trust came easily with her. I need to tell you something, she'd said early in our relationship, curled up on my couch one evening. She opened up about her ex, this guy who'd really done a number on her. Emotional manipulation, gaslighting, the whole toxic package. But the way she talked about it, you could tell she'd done the work to heal. I went to therapy for a year after that relationship, she explained. I needed to understand why I stayed so long and how to avoid falling into the same patterns. I admired her honesty and self-awareness. More than that, I respected how she turned such a negative experience into personal growth. Her ex never worried me. He was firmly in her past, or so I thought. We built a life together, piece by piece. Weekend trips to the coast, family dinners where she charmed my parents, mom still asks about her banana bread recipe, and quiet evenings just being together. We even started talking about moving in together. Your family is amazing, she'd say after every visit. They make me feel so welcome. And they did love her. My sister especially, they go shopping together sometimes, just the two of them. Things were good, really good. The kind of good where you start thinking long-term. You know, we had our routines, our inside jokes, our favorite spots. Like that little Italian place where the owner knew our usual order. Or the park bench where we'd people watch on Saturday mornings, making up stories about passers-by. Look at that guy, Lisa would whisper, pointing discreetly. Definitely a secret superhero. See how he's checking his watch? Probably late for saving the world. I loved how she could make even ordinary moments feel special. Last month, Lisa got a new phone. Help me transfer everything, she asked, holding out her old device. You're better at this tech stuff than I am. Of course I agreed. Why wouldn't I? We shared everything anyway. I helped her migrate her data. I noticed some screenshots in her gallery. I didn't think much of it at first, just another task in the transfer process. Looking back now, I wish I'd never seen them. But maybe it's better that I did. Sometimes the truth hurts, but ignorance, well, that can hurt even more in the long run. Everything transferred, okay? She asked when I handed back both phones. Yeah, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. Everything's there. Those screenshots would change everything, but I didn't know that yet. At that moment, I was still just her Carl, still believing in our perfect little world. Funny how life can shift so dramatically, isn't it? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what I found.
Hey there, I'm Lisa. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. God, that sounds so cliché, doesn't it? But it's true. When Jack's message popped up on my screen after 3 years of silence, I should have blocked him. That's what you're supposed to do with toxic exes, right? Instead, I sat there staring at my phone, my heart doing this weird flutter thing I hadn't felt in ages. Just checking how you're doing. I'm moving overseas next month. Coffee before I go. Simple words. Harmless, really. But they sent me right back to that messy breakup, all the therapy sessions, all the work I'd done to move past him. I showed the message to my best friend, Sarah. You've got to be kidding, she said, narrowing her eyes. Delete it. No, but I didn't. Instead, I replied, coffee sounds good. Closure, right? We met at this fancy new restaurant downtown. Definitely not a coffee shop. I dressed carefully, telling myself it was about feeling confident, in control. Not about looking good for him. Definitely not about that. The moment I saw him, something shifted inside me. He looked older, more refined. His usual scruff was gone, replaced by a clean-shaven face that reminded me of our early dating days. "You look amazing, Lise," he said, using that old nickname that used to make my knees weak. Still did, apparently. Over wine, yes, we ordered wine. Another bad decision. He started apologizing. Really apologizing, not those half-hearted, sorry you felt that way, ones from before. He talked about therapy, about understanding his patterns, about regret. "I was terrible to you," he admitted, swirling his wine. "You deserved so much better." I think about it all the time. Something inside me uncoiled. 3 years of carrying this weight, wondering if maybe I had been too dramatic, too sensitive, and here he was, validating everything. "Remember that weekend in Vermont?" he asked suddenly. "When we got lost and ended up at that random maple syrup farm?" I laughed despite myself. "And you charmed the old couple into giving us a private tour?" "You were so mad about being lost," he grinned. "Until you tasted that fresh syrup." The memories flooded back, not just the bad ones I'd clung to, but the good ones too. The adventures, the laughter, the connection we'd had before everything went wrong. When he reached across the table to touch my hand, I let him. Just for a moment. It felt familiar, dangerous. "I miss your laugh," he said softly. "Nobody ever got my jokes like you did." The hug goodbye lasted too long. Way too long. I knew it even as it was happening, but I couldn't seem to pull away. He smelled the same, that mix of cologne and something uniquely him that used to drive me crazy. Then the messages started. Later that night, after I'd gotten home. "Can't stop thinking about how good you felt in my arms." I should have shut it down. Instead, I replied, "That hug was dangerous territory." "Remember how I used to tie you up?" he texted back. "Those were some good times." My face flushed hot reading that. I thought about Carl, probably watching TV at home, trusting me completely. Still, I typed, "Stop making me blush." Those memories should stay buried. "One last hurrah before I leave the country," he suggested, adding a winky face that somehow made it both more and less serious. "Don't tempt me," I wrote back, adding LOL, to make it seem like a joke. Was it a joke? The conversation continued late into the night. Each message felt like playing with fire, but I couldn't stop. It was like being drunk on nostalgia and validation and the thrill of something forbidden. "You still fancy me, don't you?" he asked directly. "Maybe a little," I admitted. That hug. I can't seem to shake it. Looking back now, I can see all the moments where I should have stopped. Should have thought about Carl. Should have remembered all the reasons Jack and I ended in the first place. But in the moment, it felt like closing a chapter. Getting my power back. Proving to myself that I was over him by flirting harmlessly. Harmlessly. Right. That's what I kept telling myself as I saved screenshots of our conversation. To remind myself not to get pulled back in, I rationalized. Not because I wanted to reread them later. Definitely not because part of me enjoyed this dangerous little dance we were doing. But as I lay in bed that night, my phone buzzing with yet another message from him, a small voice in my head whispered, "You've crossed a line, Lisa. You know you have." I pushed the thought away. It was just closure, right? Just a bit of harmless flirting. Carl would understand if he knew. Wouldn't he?
I keep replaying that moment. Just sitting there, transferring photos between her phones, when those screenshots popped up. My stomach dropped. You know that feeling when your whole world shifts in an instant? Yeah, that. The first screenshot was innocent enough, just her ex reaching out about coffee. But as I scrolled, each message felt like a punch to the gut. Their dinner. They're reminiscing. They're flirting. They're fucking one last hurrah joke. I sat there in our living room, the same room where we'd spent countless nights watching movies, where she'd curl up against me and say things like, "I've never felt safer than I do with you." What a joke that seems like now. "Everything okay, babe?" Lisa called from the kitchen. "You're pretty quiet." I couldn't even look at her. "When were you planning to tell me about meeting Jack?" The sound of a glass shattering in the kitchen. Then silence. When she finally appeared in the doorway, her face was white. "Carl, I can explain." Explain what? My voice came out eerily calm. How you told him you still fancy him. Or maybe explain the conversation about how he used to tie you up. She sank into the armchair across from me. It wasn't like that. I needed closure. Closure. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. Is that what we're calling it now? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you were trying to get laid one last time before he leaves the country. That's not fair. Her eyes filled with tears. You don't understand what it meant to finally hear him apologize. You're right, I don't understand. I don't understand how the same woman who spent 2 years building trust with me could throw it all away for some toxic ex who suddenly decides to play nice. I stood up, needing to move, to do something with this energy coursing through me. The screenshots were still open on her old phone. I read one aloud. Don't tempt me. Oh, really, Lisa? Well, it was just flirting, she pleaded. It didn't mean anything. That's worse. I spun around to face her. You're telling me you risked everything we built together for something that didn't mean anything? She tried to touch my arm. I pulled away. Carl, please. I love you. He's leaving the country. It was just what? Just dinner? Just a lingering hug? Just some sexy texting for old time's sake? The pain in her eyes might have moved me once. Now it just made me angrier. Because underneath that pain, I could see it, the guilt. She knew exactly what she'd done. I need some time, I said, finally grabbing my keys. I can't. I can't even look at you right now. Where are you going? Does it matter? Isn't this what you wanted? Freedom to do whatever you want without having to tell your partner. Low blow, maybe. But watching her crumple into herself gave me a twisted satisfaction I'm not proud of. Standing in the doorway, I turned back one last time. You know what kills me? I would have understood if you'd just been honest. If you'd said, hey, my ex reached out, I want to meet him for closure. But you didn't give me that chance. You just went behind my back. I was afraid you'd be upset, she whispered. And this is better. I shook my head. You were right to screenshot those messages, Lisa. They're a perfect record of how to destroy someone's trust in under 24 hours. I left her there, crying in our living room. Drove around for hours, replaying everything. 2 years of memories, suddenly tainted by doubt. Had there been others? How many times had she lied? My phone kept buzzing with her messages. I turned it off. Sometimes space isn't just about distance. It's about giving yourself room to breathe, to think, to decide if some broken things are worth fixing. The thing is, I still love her. God help me, I do. But love isn't always enough, is it? Sometimes trust matters more. And right now, sitting in my car outside my sister's house at 2 a.m., honestly don't know if we'll ever get that back.
My apartment feels hollow now, all those shared memories mocking me from every corner. The last conversation keeps playing in my head like a broken record. Carl came by to collect some things he'd left here. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could talk things through. I really am sorry, I said, watching him gather his belongings. It was stupid and thoughtless, but it didn't mean anything. He paused, holding the coffee mug I'd bought him last Christmas. You know what's funny? You keep saying it didn't mean anything, like that makes it better. But if it meant nothing, why did you do it? I told you I needed closure. Right. He set the mug down hard enough to make me flinch. You want to know what I think? I think you're like all women who claim they want a good guy but can't resist running back to toxic ones. The drama, the intensity, you feed off it. Nice guys like me? We're just too boring, aren't we? His words stung because maybe, just maybe, there was a grain of truth there. Not about all women, of course, that was just his hurt talking. But about me? About the rush I felt when Jack texted? The thrill of that dangerous territory? That's not fair, I whispered, but my voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Look me in the eye and tell me you didn't get a kick out of it. The secret meeting, the flirty texts, the whole forbidden fruit thing. Tell me you weren't a little excited by it all. I couldn't. And my silence said everything. That's what I thought. He grabbed his jacket, the one I used to steal on cold mornings. You know what the worst part is? I would have gone through anything with you, Lisa. Any rough patch, any challenge. But I can't compete with someone who craves chaos. After he left, I called Sarah in tears. I've ruined everything. Honey, she sighed, what did you expect? That's the thing, I don't know what I expected. For Carl to understand? For him to see it was just a moment of weakness? For everything to magically be okay? I check my phone again. Still nothing. The screenshot folder is still there, but I can't bring myself to delete it yet. Not because I want to keep them, but because they're evidence of how spectacularly I screwed up. A reminder of how one stupid decision can demolish something beautiful. Carl's last text keeps glowing in my mind. You didn't just betray my trust. You confirmed every fear I had about not being enough. About being too safe, too reliable, too boring. Congrats, Lisa. You proved me right. He's wrong about that. He was enough. More than enough. He was morning kisses and surprise lunch deliveries. He was terrible dad jokes and amazing shoulder rubs. He was stability and warmth and everything I said I wanted. But maybe he's right about me. Maybe I'm not as healed as I thought. Maybe part of me is still that girl who mistakes drama for passion, who needs validation from the wrong people, who sabotages good things because they don't feel as intense as toxic ones. Sarah keeps telling me to give him space, that if it's meant to be, he'll come back. But sitting here, surrounded by the remnants of our life together, his favorite blanket still on my couch, his coffee mug in my sink, his post-it notes still stuck to my fridge, I'm terrified that some mistakes don't get second chances. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? Jack never even mattered. He was just a ghost from my past that I let haunt my present. Now I'm left with nothing but regret and the sickening realization that I traded real love for a moment of nostalgic validation. I keep asking myself, was it worth it? The answer echoes in every empty corner of my apartment, in every notification that isn't from Carl, in every memory that now feels tainted. No. God, no. It wasn't worth it at all.